All right. So today, what we're going to be talking about is how to find motivation. Now, a lot of people, well, let me take a step back. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because I think that there's a massive misconception around what it means to feel motivated. And so I want to talk today about like what actually is motivation, what are the types of motivation, and how can you increase your motivation when you are feeling a little bit low with it, when you're feeling like you maybe don't have the gumption, don't have that desire and that drive that you feel you need to go out and build the body that you want. But ultimately, this is going to be something that you can use to achieve any goal that you want to in your life. All right. And so, like, whether it is to have a transformation, right? Like the one that you see for myself on the screen, or it's just to go out and be a better person, have a better relationship, whatever it is, everything that we're going to be talking about today is going to be things that you can focus on and think about when you are doing it. Now, before we get into really like what is motivation, one key thing that I want, or one distinction that I want to make that's going to set the tone for what our conversation is going to be about today is that the biggest misconception behind motivation is people think that it needs to come to them. But motivation is something you need to go to. You need to be aware of it because it's not going to be something that comes from the external environment. It's going to be something that you got to find within you. So that is really what we're going to get into the thick of today, and discovering what within you can help you to increase your motivation. So that way you never need to rely on something external ever again for you to go out and do what you need to do. Okay. So what is motivation, right? Well, motivation, if you look up the definition, it is the psychological, biological, emotional, or social force that drives a person to act, initiate, or maintain goal-directed behavior, right? So broken down and said easier, it is your motive or your reason for action, right? Which is commonly referred to in these days in like self-help or the self-help corner of the internet as your why, right? And I'm putting that in quotes because I think that people lean into the find your why more than they should. And they use it, in my opinion, as a bit of a crutch, right? As like, oh, you just need a strong why, right? And yes, that can be helpful. That can be powerful even for if you find the right one. But not everybody's able to do that. Just finding your why sounds pretty vague, right? So what we're going to be talking about today is how to get deeper into that and how to get more specific with it. Because what we're going to uncover is that the specificity helps drive and increase that motivation. Okay. So there's different types of motivation. And this is what I was alluding to earlier about external and internal, right? So a lot of people think that the external environment is what's going to motivate us. So external motivation, and that comes from outside sources, right? And like, yeah, sure. If you have a boss that tells you you need to get X, Y, and Z done, then okay, you know what? You got to go ahead and get it done. There's your motivation. He told you to. Or if your partner, spouse wants something out of you or wants you to be a better person, right? Then yeah, okay, for sure. You need to focus on that. But if you're constantly worried about other people's opinions, or more so, I should say, like somebody else pushing you or getting you to do something, then you're never going to have lasting motivation because you're only going to really feel motivated for it when they're in your ear, when they're saying, hey, we want you to do this, or hey, we need you to do this. When in reality, you want to be a self-starter if you want to achieve something great with your life, aka a sexy fucking body, right? Or whatever else it may be. You need to have it come from within you if you are going to be able to sustain the level of motivation you need, or I should say motivation you need to go out and achieve your goals. So what we really want to focus on is internal motivation, because internal motivation comes from within you, right? So then there's two types of this internal motivation that we're going to be looking at today. Something that you really, really want, or something that you really, really do not want. Okay. These are the two places, only two places you can find internal motivation. Okay. So let's move on and dive deeper into that, right? So what I'm talking about, right, in terms of, things you want or things you do not want, right? So the way that we're going to classify those today is we're going to talk about moving towards goals and moving away from goals. So moving towards goals is something that you really, really want. Moving away from goals is moving away from something you really, really do not want. Okay. So, all right, cool. So let's talk about like having something to pull you. Okay. Yeah. Both of these are important, right? And both of these are things that we need to be aware of, right? So like think about like moving towards this, it's pulling you towards it, right? I actually really could, to be quite honest with you, I don't like how it's framing. This is a little AI generated thing that it made this. I didn't check this. I actually want to take out the positive pull and the negative push because I think that that's wrong and that's not what we're going for here today. So I'm gonna leave that out of it, ignore that piece of it, but everything else is gonna be relevant still. Okay. So when we're talking about moving towards goal, right? We're talking about what is our desired outcome. Right. So a common one, if we're talking about fitness, and we're primarily going to be talking about fitness today, is going to be look good naked, is going to be have abs, is going to be have a thick chest, is going to be feel confident shirtless, right? All of these are positive moving towards goals, right? Because we want to get to whatever that is, right? And that's a very, very powerful mechanism when you really, really want something. Okay. Now on the flip side of it, the moving away from goals, like again, you could say it's a negative push, but I wouldn't say that it's negative, but it is something that's going to push you in a direction because you're trying to avoid an undesired state. You're trying to avoid being somebody that you don't want to be, right? You want to avoid like an example that I have that really sparked my motivation is I did one of these in high school because I was dating a girl that was on the dance team at the time. She broke up with me like 2 weeks after this, which also helped the motivation. But I remember doing that and I was wearing a sweater because it was wintertime and my midriff came up and I just saw this big old tire layer of fat, right? It was worse than that before a picture that I often use. It was probably my worst that I had been at that point. And I remember when that happened, I was like, I don't want to feel like this ever again. I don't want to feel embarrassed for my shirt to come up in front of in front of people I find attractive ever again. Right. So that was something that was a negative that I did want to get away from. Right. But there are other things that we can try to get away from. Right. A lot of us have, for lack of a better term, daddy issues or mommy issues or family relational issues, right? And we don't want to end up like X, Y, and Z person in our life because we don't like the way that that person was, right? Whether that be from a how they provided from the family standpoint, whether it be from a fitness and how their body is standpoint, right? We all have these examples of who we don't want to be, right? As we move forward in our life. And getting clear on who that is can be really, really powerful to make sure, can be really, really powerful because if you recognize how you are potentially acting like that person right now, then you can be like, oh, I don't want to be that person more than I want to be somebody better, right? And so that can be a really, really powerful form of getting you to take action. Now, I think I will share what my opinion is as to which one of these is stronger, but my ultimate opinion is that you should be aware of both of these. You should have some things that you are moving towards and some things that you're moving away from, right? It's the carrot and the stick. Both have their place and both can be helpful and powerful in their own right. So you want to take time to get really clear on both of them, all right? So here's how well, before we go into how to do that, I'm going to give you my 2 cents as to which I think is going to be better. Well, not even better because you need them both, right? But I do find that if you just want to look good and that's all you're focused on, it's not enough for most people, right? Some people it can be, right? But 80% of the time, it's not enough, which is why we need something to move away from. But I will say this, I've yet to find a person that is clear on who they don't want to be, what they want to avoid, that doesn't feel motivated, right? Because most of the time, the issue that I see with people that I work with is they know what they want, but they still say that they need motivation to get there. It's because they aren't clear on what they don't want. So while both of these are important, I would make the argument that it's about 20% more important to be crystal clear on what you're moving away from, who you don't want to be. Okay. It's only a little bit more important, but it is more important because it also is the side that most people forget, right? So I think just adding that in, if you already know what your desired outcome in, adding in what you're trying to get away from, that's going to give you that extra boost that you've been looking for. Okay. So now how are we going to get there at the end of the day? So what I would do is I would take a piece of paper, draw a line right down the middle of it. Okay. On your left side, write once. On your right side, write do not once. And I want you to set a timer for 2 minutes per side, maybe 5 minutes if you need to, right? Like, fuck it, it'll take 10 minutes, 15 minutes for the whole process of this, right? But it can be really powerful. But take 2 to 5 minutes at a minimum and write per side and write down everything that you want. Like I'm saying, like you want to go to the beach this summer, and when you pull your shirt off, you want to feel confident. Like make them specific, right? And I know that's part of it too, right? But I want you thinking about, even when you're writing it, try to make them as specific as possible. But regardless, get down as many things as you want out of your body, your career, your relationships, right? Talk about specific situations if you can. And on the flip side, talk about it once you're done with your 2 to 5 minutes on everything that you want, take 2 to 5 minutes on the other side. Write down everything you do not want, everybody that just everything you don't want, right? And it can be like specific, like I don't want to make excuses about time like my dad did, because all he ended up doing with his free time was sit on the fucking couch and drink beer and watch sports games and didn't pay any attention to me and my siblings, right? For an example, I'm not saying that's my real situation, or am I? My dad was around for a lot of things, but that is something that he most certainly did. Just letting you know that. But my point is that take your time to really get clear on what those things are, right? It can be like, all right, I don't want to have love handles, right? That's a good one, right? I don't want to feel embarrassed at the beach with my shirt off. I don't want to feel embarrassed if I'm in the bedroom on dating somebody new, or even with a partner that I've been with for years, right? I want to feel confident when I'm naked, right? And then once you take your time to get those lists down, then what I want you to do is whatever feels strongest on both sides, pick 3 to 5 things that are really like, yeah, this is what I want. Like that's that situation. Circle them, right? Circle the ones, highlight them, whatever you got to do to make those specific things that you really, really want on the one section and you really, really don't want on the do not want section. When you circle those things, now I want you to, if you have space on the flip side of the paper, or go to another one, and I want you to make them as specific as possible, right? So if it's, I want to look good naked, well, tell me, what do you want your midsection to look like? What do you want your upper body to look like? What do you want your lower body to look like? How do you want your face to look? Do you want your jawline to come in a little bit more when you lose that fat, right? Obviously, there are certain genetic things that you cannot control, but put the things that are in your control there, and even be a little audacious with them, I would say, right? When it comes to like what I don't want, right? Like, don't just say that I don't want love handles. Say, I don't want to put on shorts and feel my fat being squeezed in. That is a way that I used to feel, and I hated it, right? Or I don't want to sit down and feel my fat bunch up at the bottom. Again, that's another thing that I had and I felt and I really wanted to get away from, right? Or I don't want to feel weak if I'm putting luggage into an overhead compartment. I don't want to have to ask somebody for help for that, right? Like from a strength standpoint. So get really, really clear on what are those things, right? Make them specific. And then once you have all of these things, then what you need to do is you need to find a way to keep them top of mind, right? So having them as a list would be good. Saving them in your phone somewhere would be good, right? So that way you can reference them, right? But I think from the things that you want to keep top of mind, like I'm going to be a little bit more on the woo-woo side, in the sense of I want you to keep the positive stuff in mind, right? Like think about it as a vision board, all right? Because you can make little vision boards on your phone, right? Where you can make like a collage of a bunch of things. So put what you want, right? You know, it could be a Photoshop version of your body. It could be somebody else's body. I've had a lot of clients send me pictures of bodies that they want to emulate. And I'm like, cool, now we have a direction because we know where you're at. We know what you want. Let's talk about how to get you there, right? And if you're focused on that and you see that and you're about to order DoorDash and you see the body you want on your phone, right? You're like, all right, you know what? I'm going to cook in the night, right? That's the reason why I want it there. That's the reason why I want some of these things top of mind for you, is because it's going to reinforce what you've told yourself you wanted in the moments when you want to go back on that word. And the more you follow through on your word, the more confident you will feel. The more confident you feel from following through on your word, the more momentum you will build, and the more you will want to do the things that made you feel confident, that made you feel good. And guess what? That is how you create consistency or motivation that you can sustain for the rest of your life, because it's reinforced by positive feedback. Because even getting away from who you don't want to be feels good, right? Like that is a positive reinforcement as well, to be like, yeah, I chose to not be like X, Y, and Z person today. I chose to be who I want to be, right? So those are the things that we want to think about at the end of the day. There's two forces when it comes to motivation: things you want, things you don't want, right? If you already have things that you want, then you're missing pieces of things that you don't want. But regardless, if you're not sure how to feel motivated, then you want to get clear on both of these, all right? So, and if you made it this far, then my guess is that you actually care about transforming your body, or at least achieving goals, right? And so I can't help you achieve all the goals in the world, but if you are looking to achieve a fitness goal, because you made it to the end of this, I'm going to have a free offer for you, okay? Well, not a free offer, but an offer for you. And essentially what it is a strategy call. And what this is an opportunity for you to talk about what are the things that you need to change in your program, your approach to your fitness right now, that will help you go to the next level. Okay. So you have to be somebody that is already working out, paying attention to your nutrition, working out regularly, to take me up on this. All right. So if you are that person that is working out, that wants to take your things to the next level, schedule a strategy call. My one thing that I want you to know is that just because you get on the call does not mean that you have to work with me as a coach, right? I'm going to give you the solution. I'm going to give you direction regardless as to whether or not you work with me. And if you do want to work with me, then I wanted to let you know that there is a guarantee, right? 30-day money back guarantee. If you don't like the service, I don't follow through on what I told you I would, you get your money back, no questions asked, right? And then if in this first 60 days, you don't hit the goal that we commit to together, then you get everything back, you get all your money refunded. So essentially it's free, and I'll work with you until you do achieve the goal in which we set for that first 60 days. Okay. So the link's going to be in the comments if you want to engage in a little conversation. Regardless, I hope this helps and that you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to hearing about it.